Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah wabarakatuh. May the peace that passes all understanding be with you. The International Institute of Quranic Studies is intended to lay the foundation for an intellectual, cultural, social, political, legal, and spiritual renaissance in the Muslim world by meticulously researching and systematically disseminating the pre-dogmatic original message of Islam as a true blessing for all creation, in which reason and faith in Holy Scriptures, aql and naql, peacefully coexist in a state of divine illumination known as irfan and/or ishraq. Lib4All Foundation launched its International Institute of Quranic Studies in March of 2008 under the patronage of former Indonesian President Kiai Haji Abdurrahman Wahid and Dr. Syafi'i Marif, the former heads of the world's two largest Muslim organizations, respectively. Those involved with the IIQS regard the liberation of religion from narrow-minded dogma and state control as one of the most vital issues confronting humanity in the 21st century, and are convinced that this can only be accomplished by restoring the profound ethical and spiritual values of Islam to primacy. Similarly, they are convinced that any attempt to reform Islam that is overtly or covertly hostile to religion is not only misguided, but doomed to failure. Rather, the world-renowned Muslim leaders associated with Lib4All and the IIQS believe that the only realistic hope of liberating Islam from the prison of dogma and politics lies in producing a broad-based spiritual revitalization of Islam itself, and thereby transforming Muslims' understanding of their religion and its mandates, including Islam's relationship with other faiths. It is important to recognize that Islamic teachings are not and have never been monolithic in nature. In addition to the widely recognized Sunni-Shiite schism, a fundamentalist spiritual divide has also existed within Islam from the time of its early followers. This fundamentalist spiritual divide has been on display throughout Muslim history and was generally the determining factor whether any given Muslim community embraced the principles of religious pluralism and tolerance or disdained the religious insights of other groups, including Muslims who did not share their own perspective. Spiritual Islam is generally referred to as tasawwuf, or Sufism, and may assume the form of membership in actual Sufi brotherhoods, or a more diffuse alignment with a Sufi or mystical worldview. According to many experts on Islam, a majority of the world's Muslim population practice forms of religious piety directly or indirectly derived from Sufism. This includes not only Indonesia, where Sufism, in the broader sense, was and remains directly responsible for that nation's traditions of religious tolerance, but also South Asia, the Persian and Turkish cultural basins, Mesopotamia and the Levant, Egypt, North Africa, the Sahel, and Sub-Saharan Africa. The renowned Muslim theologians affiliated with Lib4All and the IIQS, like many Muslim clerics grounded in the spiritual traditions of Islam, distinguish between a Muslim with a small m, that is, one who is surrendered to the divine in a state of complete self-transcendence, and a Muslim spelled with a large M, that is, one who professes the formal religion of Islam, but who may or may not have realized and lived its essence. Similarly, President Wahid and Muslims like him throughout the world distinguish between Islam, the actual state of ego annihilation and moment-by-moment awareness of and surrender to divine will, and the formal religion known as Islam. According to this definition, Muslims who practice Islam may or may not actually profess the formal religion of Islam, for not all are followers of the Prophet Muhammad. Significantly, in the opinion of many top Quranic scholars and Muslim theologians, the Quran itself uses the terms Muslim and Islam primarily in the spiritual sense, rather than to refer specifically to the followers of Muhammad or the formal religion of Islam, connotations that became dominant after the death of Muhammad with the formalization of religion in the context of expanding Arab military and political power. The mission of the IIQS is to help restore Muslims' understanding and practice of Islam to the pristine beauty and truth of its original message, as revealed by the Quran and the life of the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Develop schools of Quranic interpretation that combine the best of classical exegetical methodologies with those of modern scholarship. Ground this scholarship in a profoundly spiritual understanding of Islam, which is capable of deepening and broadening rather than destroying Muslims' faith. Propagate free thought and expand the bounds of debate within the Muslim world, while undermining extremists who seek to limit the scope of acceptable speech and thought through the use of blasphemy and apostasy laws. Support and defend reformers and reform initiatives against organized radical opposition. Research, develop, and articulate the theological grounds for constitutional guarantees of freedom of conscience and the separation of religion and state. Establish a lasting foundation for a renaissance of Islamic pluralism, tolerance, and critical thinking. Foster the necessary conditions for the development of just societies and the protection of universal human rights throughout the Muslim world, so that Islam may truly function as rahmatan lil alamin, or a blessing for all creation. Inspire humanity to rise from a narrow, dogmatic understanding of Islam to the ocean of knowledge and truth.